When Alexander Hamilton is thought of today, he is often associated with drama. He is, after all, the star character in the dramatic Broadway musical named after him. Lin-Manuel Miranda's Hamilton, an American Musical, 2015, has been a worldwide phenomenon, bringing Hamilton again to the public's eye. But long before he gained fame on the modern theatrical stage, Hamilton was celebrated by historians of early America in other dramatic ways. He had been celebrated, for instance, as the primary author of the renowned Federalist Papers, 1788, essays written to help secure ratification of the United States Constitution. Originally published under the pseudonym Publius, or of the people, historians have worked out that Hamilton was the primary author and driving force behind the project. Those essays were cast off in the midst of Hamilton's busy professional life. He was then a practicing lawyer, and in an atmosphere of political urgency. There was drama in all of that, and how much more dramatic can it get than Hamilton's sensational death? He died on the 12th of July, 1804, as a result of being shot by Vice President Aaron Burr, 1756 to 1836. Hours earlier, the two had fought a duel on the banks of the Hudson River. Yet in many ways, Hamilton's most significant contributions to the United States were far less dramatic than any of this. At least, that's how it appears on first blush. Alexander Hamilton's enduring claim to fame, wrote historian Jacob E. Cook, is based on the financial reports which he submitted to the Congress of the United States. As Secretary of the Treasury under President George Washington during the country's first government, Hamilton worked meticulously to research and draft those reports. In them are many of the economic foundations on which the United States was built. The three most important of Hamilton's economic reports are the subject of this audiobook. They are 1. First Report on Public Credit, 1790. 2. Report on a National Bank, 1790. And 3. Report on the Subject of Manufactures, 1791. In order to understand the significance of Hamilton's reports, we need to place them in their historical context. And in doing so, we find that these contributions of Hamilton are much more dramatic than at first appears to be the case. In 1789, the first United States government was formed when George Washington created his first administration. The colonies and states they became had survived their long drawn-out Revolutionary War, 1776 to 83. But having secured a victory against Great Britain and secured independence, would the fledgling republic survive its nationhood? A looming hurdle was debt. The United States fiscal house was a mess. The war had been expensive. How would its national debt and the debt accumulated by the individual states be serviced? What sorts of taxes would be levied? And how would they be collected? What would America produce and export? In short, what sort of country would America become? These were the fundamental questions that were being asked, but for which none in the nation had satisfactory answers. They were the questions to which Hamilton turned his attention in the early 1790s. First, who was Hamilton? What was his story before he became a leading figure in Washington's administration, the nation's first government? Hamilton was born as a British subject, though a long way from the center of British or American politics. The illegitimate son of a Scottish merchant, James Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton's earliest years are obscured. We know he was born on the island of Nevis, one of the Leeward Islands in the West Indies, possibly in 1755, but probably on the 11th of January, 1757. The historical record is inconclusive, and his date of birth is still contested by historians. His father seems not to have been a part of his life, and his mother, Rachel Fawcett Lavian, also died while Hamilton was still young, leaving Alexander parentless as a boy. Raised by relatives and friends, by age 9 he was apprenticed to a merchant firm. Early in life, he also made a name for himself as a writer, gained in part by his vivid description of a hurricane that hit the Caribbean in 1772.